Hi Year 11, today what we're looking at is solving quadratic equations. A quadratic equation is an equation involving a square, meaning that the highest power of our pronumeral is 2. For example, we have x squared minus 4 equals 0. We can solve a quadratic equation using factorisation. So when solving quadratic equation by factorising, we use a property of 0. For the first one, we have to solve y squared minus 7y equals 0. What we want to do is we want to factorise the y squared minus 7y. When we do this, we factorise out a y and we're left with y minus 7 equals 0. What we want to do now is we want to look at what we let y equal, what we can substitute in for y to let or make the equation equal 0. So what we can substitute in here is, or if we're not sure, is we let our y equals 0 and we let y minus 7 equals 0. So we let both components equal 0 and then we solve our equations. So we'd plus 7 to both sides on our second equation to get y equals 7. And so therefore we have that our solution to y squared minus 7y equals 0 is when y equals 0 or 7. Pause the video and have a go at solving 2x squared plus 8x equals 0 using factorisation. So to factorise 2x squared plus 8x equals 0, you should have taken out a common factor of 2x, which leaves us with x plus 4 equals 0. What we have here is we then let both components, so we let 2x equal 0 and we let x plus 4 equal 0. When we let 2x equal 0, we have to divide both sides by 2. When we divide both sides by 2, we get x equals 0. And for x plus 4 equals 0, we have to minus both sides by 4 to get x equals 0. X equals negative 4, sorry. So therefore, our solution to when we're asked to solve 2x squared plus 8x is x equals 0 or negative 4. For our next example, we want to solve x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. So we have a monic trinomial here. So because we have a monic trinomial, we need to use SPF. So our sum is our coefficient of x, which is 1. Our product is our last term, which is minus 6. And we need our factors of 6, which are 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. We are trying to work out how we can rearrange 2 and 3 to get a sum of 1. And that is when we have minus 2 and positive 3. What we then do, because it's a monic trinomial, is we go straight to x, our double bracket, and we put our factors in here of minus 2 and plus 3. What you can see from here is we're trying to make x minus 2. What do we substitute in for x to make that bracket equal 0? And then what do we substitute in for x plus 3 to make that bracket 0? So if you're unsure, you can just look at it and say that x equals 2 because 2 minus 2 is 0, and then the x equals minus 3 because negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. What we do, if you're unsure, is we let the first bracket x minus 2 equals 0, and we let the second bracket x plus 3 equals 0. From here, we plus the 2 to both sides for our first mini equation to get x equals positive 2, and for our second mini equation x plus 3 equals 0, we minus 3 from both sides to get x equals negative 3. Pause the video here and have a go at solving x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. So again, we need to use SPF, and our S is 9, our product is 20, and our factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So we need to use plus 4 and plus 5 as our factors to get us the sum of 9. Like I said, we can go straight to our double bracket, x plus 4, x plus 5 equals 0, because we have a monic trinomial. You should be able to see that to make the first bracket equals 0, you'd need to substitute in x equals negative 4, and to make the second bracket equal 0, substitute in x equals negative 5. Again, if you're unsure, what you are doing is you're letting that first bracket of x plus 4 equal 0, and you let that second bracket of x plus 5 equal 0. You solve these mini equations like so to get x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 5. For our next example, we have a non-monic trinomial here. So again, we need to use SPF and factorise 3a squared minus 4a equals minus 8. So before we can factorise, we have to have all our terms on the left-hand side. So we're going to plus 8 to both sides so that we have 3a squared minus 4a plus 8 equals 0. For our sum, it's the coefficient of a, which is negative 14. And for our product, we have to multiply our coefficient of a squared and our constant together to get 24. We need our factors of 24 that add to give 14 in some capacity. So listing our factors, we can see that we'll need 2 and 12, and they'll both need to be negative there. When we are trying to factorise a non-monic trinomial, what we need to do is we need to split this middle term. So when we split this middle term, what we are left with is 3a squared minus 12a plus minus 2a plus 8 equals 0, and then we factorise in pairs. So I factorise from 3a squared minus 12a, and a common factor is 3a, and I'm left with a minus 4, and then for minus 2a plus 8, my common factor is negative 2, and I'm left with a minus 4 equals 0. Then you'll notice that we have our brackets are exactly the same, so we can factorise out that bracket out the front. So we're left with a minus 4 and 3a minus 2 equals 0. From here, we need to work out what our a values are going to be that make this equation equal 0. So our first a value is what do we substitute into a when we have a minus 4 to make it equal to 0, and it would be, in fact, 4. And then what we have for 3a minus 2 is we have our constant over our coefficient, is how we work it out without solving the equation. So our constant there is 2 over our coefficient of 3. Again, if you can't see this straight away, all you have to do is let your first bracket, a minus 4 equals 0, and let your second bracket, 3a minus 2 equals 0, and then solve for these mini equations. So to solve a minus 4 equals 0, you plus the 4 to both sides to get a equals 4. Then to solve 3a minus 2 equals 0, you plus the 2 to both sides to get 3a equals 2. Divide the 3 to both sides so that you get a equals 2 on 3. Pause the video and have a go at solving 2y squared plus y equals 3. Okie dokie, so the first thing you should have done is minus the 3 to both sides so that you have everything on the left hand side and the equation equaling 0. When you do this, you have 2y squared plus y minus 3 equals 0. We then want to look at our SPF. So our sum is the coefficient of our y, which is 1. Our product is our coefficient of y squared times by our constant of minus 3, which is negative 6. And our factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. So how we get a sum of positive 1 is we use the factors 2 and 3, but we have a positive 3, negative 2. So we then need to split our middle term to get 2y squared minus 2y plus 3y minus 3 equals 0. We factorise out, so in pairs, factorising our first two terms, 2y squared minus 2y is 2y, bracket y minus 1. And factorising our second two terms, 3y minus 3 is 3 bracket y minus 1 equals 0. We then have that our brackets are exactly the same, so we factorise that out the front, and we're left with 2y plus 3 equals 0 in our second bracket. We should straight away see that what we need to substitute into y in our first bracket to make it equal 0 is a positive 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0. And what we need to substitute into our second bracket to make it equal 0 is negative 3 on 2. To prove this, we have to let y minus 1 equal 0, and we let 2y plus 3 equal 0 and solve these mini equations. So for the first one, y minus 1 equals 0, I plus 1 to both sides to get y equals 1. And for our second one, we minus 3 to both sides to get 2y equals negative 3. And then we divide both sides by 2 to get y equals negative 3 on 2. What you guys are going to do now is have a go at completing exercise 206, odd questions.